At 4:17 p.m. Gulf Standard Time this afternoon, a formation of Iranian naval vessels turned back from their declared intercept course toward a Bahraini-flagged oil tanker transiting international waters 12 nautical miles south of the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian vessels had been on intercept course for 47 minutes when they abruptly reversed heading and returned to Iranian territorial waters at maximum speed. What caused this sudden reversal became clear 2 hours and 11 minutes later when the United States Navy conducted a demonstration of precision strike capability that fundamentally altered Iranian calculations about the costs of future harassment operations in the Persian Gulf. The Iranian formation consisted of 3 fast attack boats of the Paykop II class, each armed with 4 C-704 anti-ship missiles and a 23mm autocannon. These vessels are the backbone of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval forces in the Gulf, designed specifically for swarming attacks against larger vessels that cannot maneuver effectively in confined waters. The boats typically operate in groups of 6 to 12 vessels, overwhelming target defenses through simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors. Today's formation was smaller than typical, suggesting either reduced operational readiness or deliberate restraint. The Bahraini tanker Morning Light was carrying 840,000 barrels of crude oil from Saudi Arabia to refineries in Singapore, transiting through international shipping lanes that have been guaranteed safe passage under multiple international agreements. The vessel is 745 feet long, displaces 87,000 tons when fully loaded, and represents exactly the type of high-value commercial shipping that Iran has threatened repeatedly as leverage against American sanctions and regional pressure. The Iranian vessels approached to within 4,200 meters of the tanker before reversing course. At that range, their C-704 missiles were within engagement envelope, and the vessels were positioned to conduct a coordinated attack if ordered. The decision to reverse course came not from Tehran, but from the commanding officers aboard the Iranian boats themselves after they observed developments occurring over the horizon that made continuing the intercept operationally suicidal. 2 United States Navy destroyers, the USS Spruance and USS Michael Mansour, had been shadowing the tanker from positions 23 nautical miles to the east, maintaining over-the-horizon posture while tracking the Iranian vessels through airborne surveillance assets. When the Iranian boats began their intercept run, both American destroyers increased speed to 32 knots and altered course to close the range. Simultaneously, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter launched from the Spruance and proceeded directly toward the Iranian formation at maximum speed. The Iranian boat commanders faced a tactical calculation that allowed only one rational conclusion. The American destroyers were closing at speeds the Iranian boats could not match when running toward the tanker. The helicopter overhead could engage the Iranian vessels with Hellfire missiles or Mark 54 torpedoes from ranges where Iranian anti-aircraft guns could not effectively engage the aircraft. If the Iranian boats continued toward the tanker and engaged it, they would be destroyed before they could return to Iranian territorial waters. If they attempted to engage the American destroyers, they would be destroyed even more quickly by vessels possessing overwhelming advantages in range, sensors, and firepower. The Iranian commanders chose survival. The formation reversed course and fled to Iranian waters. The American destroyers did not pursue into Iranian territory, but maintained station in international waters, ensuring the tanker completed its transit unmolested. The incident appeared to conclude without shots fired, a demonstration of deterrence succeeding through the credible threat of overwhelming force. But 2 hours later, the United States Navy transformed this tactical success into a strategic message that resonates through every Iranian naval facility in the Gulf. Subscribe to this channel and enable all notifications right now, because what the United States did next represents a fundamental shift in American rules of engagement in the Persian Gulf. And understanding this shift is absolutely critical to predicting Iranian behavior over the next 30 days. At 6:28 p.m. Gulf Standard Time, American forces conducted what official statements described as a pre-planned training exercise involving live fire against a decommissioned vessel serving as a target. The exercise occurred in international waters 67 nautical miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz, well outside Iranian territorial limits, but clearly visible to Iranian coastal radar systems and observation posts. The target vessel was a decommissioned frigate identical in size and configuration to Iranian vessels currently operating in the Gulf. The demonstration began with the USS Spruance engaging the target vessel using its 5-inch Mark 45 naval gun at a range of 8,200 meters. The gun fired 18 rounds over a period of 90 seconds, achieving 17 hits that penetrated the target's hull above and below the waterline. The impacts created massive damage to the superstructure and propulsion spaces, rendering the target dead in the water within 2 minutes of the engagement commencing. The USS Michael Mansour followed with a surface-to-surface missile engagement, using a single naval strike missile fired from a range of 43 nautical miles. The missile covered the distance in approximately 6 minutes, flying a sea-skimming trajectory that kept it below Iranian radar coverage until terminal approach. The missile struck the target vessel precisely at the waterline amidships, detonating its 275-pound warhead inside the hull and breaking the keel. The target began sinking immediately. The engagement concluded with the MH-60R helicopter conducting a simulated anti-surface attack using training rounds from its crew-served machine guns and simulated Hellfire missile employment against the sinking target. The helicopter demonstrated its ability to orbit the target at ranges between 800 meters and 3,200 meters, while maintaining continuous observation and weapons employment capability. The entire demonstration lasted 11 minutes from first shot to final simulated engagement. Iranian observers monitoring from coastal facilities and patrol vessels watched as American forces destroyed a vessel matching Iranian ship specifications using 3 different weapon systems from 3 different platforms, demonstrating overlapping kill chains that provide redundant capability to destroy Iranian vessels, regardless of which American platform is available for engagement. The message was explicit and impossible to misunderstand. Any Iranian vessel that threatens international shipping will be engaged and destroyed using methods and capabilities that Iran cannot counter. The demonstration was not a warning that such actions might occur in the future. It was a rehearsal of actions that will occur the next time Iranian vessels attempt to harass commercial shipping. The strategic implications of this demonstration extend far beyond the immediate tactical message to Iranian naval commanders. The engagement reveals fundamental changes in American rules of engagement that represent a return to the aggressive deterrence posture the United States maintained in the Gulf during the 1980s when Iranian harassment of shipping triggered Operation Praying Mantis, the largest American naval battle since World War II. In April 1988, Iranian Revolutionary Guard vessels had been conducting attacks on commercial shipping using mines, missiles, and gunfire, believing that American forces would not respond with lethal force for fear of escalation. When Iranian forces severely damaged the USS Samuel B. Roberts with a mine, the United States Navy responded by destroying 2 Iranian oil platforms, sinking 1 Iranian frigate, severely damaging another, and destroying 3 Iranian patrol boats in a single day of coordinated strikes. Iran ceased harassment operations for over a decade following that demonstration. The current demonstration suggests that American tolerance for Iranian harassment has again reached its limit, and that future Iranian actions will trigger immediate kinetic responses rather than diplomatic protests. This represents a significant change from the pattern that has prevailed over the past 15 years, where Iranian provocations triggered American protests, consultations with allies, graduated sanctions pressure, and carefully calibrated responses designed to avoid escalation. The shift in American posture appears connected to several converging factors. First, American domestic energy production has eliminated dependence on Persian Gulf oil imports, reducing the economic leverage that Iran once possessed through threats to shipping. Second, regional allies, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have explicitly requested more aggressive American responses to Iranian actions, offering political cover for American escalation. Third, intelligence assessments indicate that Iranian leadership interprets American restraint as weakness rather than strategic patience, encouraging continued Iranian escalation that threatens broader regional stability. The economic calculations driving Iranian behavior have also shifted in ways that make continued harassment operations less rational. Iran's maritime harassment campaign was designed to pressure European and Asian nations to resist American sanctions by threatening energy supplies. This strategy worked when Iran controlled a larger percentage of global oil exports, and when alternative suppliers could not quickly increase production to offset Iranian supply disruptions. Neither condition remains valid. Global oil markets have absorbed the loss of approximately 1.4 million barrels per day of Iranian exports without price spikes that would pressure consuming nations to resist American sanctions. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, and the United States have increased production to replace lost Iranian supplies. Strategic petroleum reserves in consuming nations have been expanded to provide additional buffer against supply disruptions. The result is that Iranian threats to shipping impose costs on Iran through military losses and international condemnation without achieving the strategic objective of forcing sanctions relief. Iranian naval forces face catastrophic disadvantages in any sustained conflict with American forces in the Gulf. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates approximately 230 vessels, but the vast majority are fast attack boats under 100 tons displacement, armed with machine guns and short-range missiles. These vessels are effective for harassment operations against unarmed commercial shipping, but cannot survive engagement with American destroyers possessing radar-guided guns, long-range missiles, and helicopter support. Iran's conventional navy operates 13 vessels, including 3 frigates and 10 corvettes, all based on designs from the 1960s and 1970s with minimal upgrades. These vessels lack the radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and air defense systems necessary to defend against American anti-ship missiles. American intelligence assessments indicate that Iranian vessels would be destroyed within the first 6 hours of sustained conflict, eliminating Iranian surface naval capability entirely. Iranian asymmetric capabilities, including mines, small boat swarms, and coastal anti-ship missiles, represent genuine threats to commercial shipping and could inflict casualties on American vessels during initial exchanges. However, these capabilities cannot prevent American forces from maintaining sea control in the Gulf or from destroying Iranian military infrastructure along the Iranian coast. The asymmetric threat prolongs the conflict and increases costs for American forces, but does not change the ultimate outcome. The demonstration conducted today shows Iranian commanders exactly how American forces will respond to future harassment operations. The timeline from Iranian intercept attempt to American strike demonstration was just 2 hours and 11 minutes. This rapid response eliminates any window for Iranian political leadership to issue orders, negotiate through third parties, or claim that local commanders acted without authorization. The speed of American action creates facts faster than Iranian political processes can respond, forcing Iranian military commanders to make tactical decisions in real time without guidance from Tehran. This timeline compression is deliberate and serves American strategic objectives. By responding with immediate demonstrations of capability, American forces deny Iranian political leadership the ability to gradually escalate provocations while testing American responses. Each Iranian action now carries the realistic possibility of immediate lethal response, fundamentally changing the risk calculation that Iranian commanders must perform before authorizing harassment operations. The demonstration also shows Iranian political leadership that American patience with graduated responses has expired. Previous Iranian provocations triggered diplomatic protests, sanctions designations, and carefully calibrated responses designed to signal disapproval without triggering conflict. Today's demonstration signals that future provocations will trigger immediate military responses designed to destroy Iranian capabilities and impose costs that exceed any benefit Iran might derive from harassment operations. Iranian leadership faces several unattractive options. First, cease all harassment operations and accept that American naval dominance in the Gulf is absolute and unchallengeable. This option preserves Iranian naval forces, but abandons the leverage strategy that Iran has pursued for decades. Second, continue harassment operations and accept losses of vessels and personnel that Iran cannot afford to replace. This option maintains pressure on shipping, but depletes Iranian capabilities at an unsustainable rate. Third, escalate to attacks on American military vessels directly rather than commercial shipping, triggering comprehensive American strikes against Iranian military infrastructure that Iran cannot defend or replace. None of these options achieves Iranian strategic objectives of forcing sanctions relief, preventing regional isolation, or maintaining deterrent capabilities against American and allied military action. Iranian leadership is now choosing which form of strategic failure to accept rather than choosing between success and failure. The demonstration conducted today clarified that Iranian naval harassment operations will fail, will cost Iran irreplaceable military capabilities, and will not achieve the political objectives that motivated the campaign. The next 72 hours will reveal whether Iranian leadership acknowledges this reality and adjusts behavior accordingly, or whether Tehran orders continued operations despite the demonstrated costs. Historical precedent from 1988 suggests that Iran will pause harassment operations following a clear demonstration of American willingness to respond with lethal force. However, The current Iranian regime faces greater domestic political pressures and international isolation than existed in 1988, potentially forcing continued escalation despite the military costs. American forces are positioned and prepared for either Iranian response. If Iran ceases harassment operations, American forces will maintain deterrent presence while avoiding unnecessary escalation. If Iran continues operations, American forces will execute the engagement sequence demonstrated today against actual Iranian vessels, destroying them as efficiently as they destroyed the target vessel. The choice belongs entirely to Iran, but the outcome of choosing continued escalation is no longer uncertain. What happens next depends on whether Iranian political leadership can override the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders, who benefit personally and institutionally from continued conflict. The IRGC Navy exists to conduct exactly the harassment operations that American forces just demonstrated they will punish with immediate destruction. Ordering the IRGC Navy to cease these operations requires the civilian leadership to directly confront the most powerful institutional actor in Iranian politics. That confrontation may be impossible given the balance of power inside Iran, forcing continued escalation even when escalation is strategically irrational. The demonstration was designed to influence Iranian behavior through clear communication of American capabilities and intentions. Whether that demonstration succeeds in preventing further Iranian provocations or simply previews the destruction that will follow those provocations is now being decided in Tehran by leaders choosing between unacceptable options while running out of time to avoid the worst outcomes. Make sure you are subscribed and notifications are enabled, because what Iran decides over the next 48 hours will determine whether this crisis de-escalates or whether the Persian Gulf becomes a shooting war that neither side actually wants, but that Iranian miscalculation and American resolve make increasingly inevitable.